Minister of Finance outlining a number of concessions and savings in the 2018-2019 budget. President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority weighing in on value-added tax. And a number of students benefiting from scholarships at an international university.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, the nation's leader wrapping up debate on the 2018-2019 budget in the House of Assembly today, outlining plans for the year ahead and explaining the government's position on the 4.5% increase in value-added tax. Now, while on Grand Bahama Friday, the country's finance minister shed light on the country's current financial status while addressing the business community. He also outlined a number of concessions and savings. The Deputy Prime Minister says that the government is well aware that an increase in value-added tax comes with some sacrifice from the Bahamian people. But he says with a $7.2 billion debt, the government tried its hardest to find a balance between the tax increase and bringing some costs down for residents, particularly the most vulnerable among us.
Because we're eliminating the existing value-added tax on the basic necessities that the vulnerable population utilizes. And so we've looked at the bread basket, and we have, which is a combination of the staples that the marginalized community eats. It comprises their diet because of the cost. And we have made it not only duty-free, but now VAT-free.
The DPM and Minister of Finance gave this example.
I had my wife go out and buy 3 items out of that bread basket, which represented about a day's meal, worth of meals. Cost me $5.93. 41 cents of that was value-added tax. And if you time that 41 cents by 7 days, you get about $2.87. And if you times that by 52 weeks, you get $149 in direct savings as a result of the elimination of value-added tax based upon the current rate. And you do the same thing with the electricity exemption that we have put in place. On a $200 bill or less, you will save 7.5%.
Turnquest notes that this represents a savings of $189 a year per household, while adding that water represents a savings of about $45 to $50. And that's not all. He says there will also be additional savings when it comes to travel.
We've increased the exemption on travel, personal travel, for accompanied baggage from $300 to $500. Again, trying to cushion this increase.
The government also gave some concessions on residential property insurance.
We have removed value-added tax on residential property insurance. And that is again in recognition of the fact that over the last year, we were faced with a serious challenge with the number of people who are seeking assistance from the government as a result of damage to their homes as a result of the hurricanes. That is not something that we can continue to do. And so we are trying to encourage people to take out some kind of insurance on your property.
The Deputy Prime Minister says for the 2018-2019 budget, they have done their best to lessen the burden on the Bahamian people.
There's an article in the paper yesterday, one of the Jamaican paper yesterday, where they're showing where the Jamaican dollar slid again. I think it's now $104 Jamaican dollars to the US dollar. And while people say, and I say too, that we're not near that point yet, we have to act now to ensure that we don't get to the tipping point where these things start to become a consideration.
In just a little over 2 weeks, VAT is expected to be increased from 7.5% to 12% on some goods and services. This increase has sparked a heated debate across the country. In this report, our Italia Hall talks with the port president to get his take on the new VAT rate.
President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Rolls, says, as it relates to the proposed increase in VAT, the reality is no one likes to pay fees. He admits that even at the GBPA, licensees often have issues with paying license fees and service charges. He says he took time out to read the budget communication, and he's encouraging residents to do the same.
The country is in a dire situation. It's almost like having a utility company that, let's say, management were not allowed to increase the rates for many, many years. And we have a situation like this, again, in the country where a utility company did not increase the base rates. The revenue wasn't covering the cost for many, many years. So all these losses piling up, your system getting old, you take shortcuts trying to fix the system, and so more or less you're kicking the can down the road, and if you don't try and fix the situation, it implodes. Although I don't like to pay additional fees either, but for the good of the country, from what I read, someone made a tough decision. The government made a tough decision to try and fix a really, really bad problem.
Roll says the Port Authority has a good working relationship with the government.
We realized that we have to work hand in hand. In order to turn Freeport around, we must be on the same page.
Some licensees in the downtown area say they are concerned about the pending VAT increase. They claim that they are struggling to keep their doors open, and the increase in VAT will make a bad situation worse. But the port president says the GBPA is committed to all licensees and is always working to assist.
Anyone can tell you that as well. If you have any problems paying your fees and you can show us that you have a difficult time in your business, please feel free to call us and we will grant you a discount.
Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
In other news, the government continuing its efforts to transform Grand Bahama into the tech hub of the Bahamas and the region. A three-day conclave, which is expected to revolutionize the digital economy, will open on Wednesday at the Grand Lucayne Resort. The first Bahamas blockchain and cryptocurrency conference will attract hundreds of international and local investors as well as entrepreneurs. Minister of State for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, says that this conclave is significant for the island as blockchain is one of the fastest growing sectors in the technology field.
This conference really will speak to, internationally, it will speak to the Bahamas' desire to be in this space and to provide an environment for those persons who want to set up businesses here. Again, it really is a marketing tool to allow the world to know that Grand Bahama is open for business, and it is about diversifying our economy here in Grand Bahama.
Project Officer Omar Isaac says that the conference is expected to be very productive.
During the time that we have educational panels and discussions going on, we'll also have pitch presentations from international companies who will be set before venture capitalists that are coming in from Los Angeles, Houston, Texas, some from New York, and others from Canada, to hear these particular companies pitch their wares and see if we can strike deals right here in Grand Bahama. In addition to that, after they would have strike those deals, our investment officers will be right there with them to help them make that transition into bringing their basis of operations here to Grand Bahama.
Now, the blockchain is free to Bahamians. You can register at blockchainbahamasconference.com. Switching gears now, scores of Bahamians showing up at a job fair over the weekend in the industrial area. The fair, hosted by Quality Services Limited, certainly surpassed their expectations. Kimberly Mullings has the details.
Hundreds of Bahamians attended a job fair on Saturday, braving the heat at Quality Service Limited on Queens Highway in Grand Bahama in hopes of securing a job. Barry Malcolm's company, Global Fulfillment, is responsible for the human resources and administration management at Quality Service Limited. He says they've been looking into the market on Grand Bahama and across the Bahamas for individuals who have industrial skills in various craft areas to work with them on an upcoming project for Pharmachem Technologies Limited.
Looking for about 5 or 6 craft skills. Pipe fitting, we're looking for welding, both on plate steel welding as well as stainless steel welding. We're looking for instrumentation, electrical, so the full range of industrial craft skills. And we found individuals in many of those areas, and a lot of persons who want to really work as helpers in those craft areas.
A number of women showed up to the job fair. He also added that QSL, Global Fulfillment, and Pharmacam are all equal opportunity employers.
We have quite a number of women working in the facility, not only here but also elsewhere in industry in Grand Bahama. You know, once the skills are there, it's all about the skills, and all about the willingness and capacity to work in an industrial environment. It tends to be a bit tougher physically, but once the skills are there, the skills are there. Gender is not a factor.
Though hundreds of hopefuls attended the local job fair, Malcolm says the number of persons who will actually be hired will vary with the project's demands.
The exact number is not yet fully defined, but we expect that at the end of this process, or through this process, we will have demand for at least 90 people. The exact number will have to be worked out in terms of the project flow and the work, but we figure somewhere in that area.
Kimberly Mullings, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Kim. Well, police investigating the circumstances surrounding the cause of a fire on board the MV Cherise M that was moored at the Allenstown Government Dock in Bimini. Around noon on Saturday, police were called to the government dock in Allenstown, where they met the A126-foot mailboat engulfed in flames. Initial reports stated that the fire started in the kitchen area. Police, along with personnel from the Bimini Resort, assisted in extinguishing that fire. There was no loss of life and no injuries. Investigations are continuing. Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, continues right after this.